You ever look back at those moments in your life that felt like a soft whisper of you can't do this right before the storm of determination kicked in? I'll never forget the first time I met Admiral Thomas Whitaker. I was just 10 years old, standing at the Norfolk Naval Base, clutching this tattered Navy cap that belonged to my mum, a cap she wore proudly before she made the ultimate sacrifice. I was clearly out of my league, a little girl standing against a decorated naval officer. But there I was, challenging him to let me take the wheel of an aircraft carrier. Truth be told, I didn't care if the whole world thought I was crazy. What they didn't know, what I didn't know at the time, was how much I was shaped by loss. My mum had died on a secret mission 5 years prior, and the shadows of her absence lingered like a heavy fog. People whispered about how I should just let it go, that chasing her legacy was a fool's errand. But deep down, I felt a burning need to reclaim her story and uncover the truth behind her death. And if standing up to an admiral was what it took, then so be it. That day wasn't just about me, no. It was about pushing against the tide of doubt and fear that had wrapped around my heart. I wanted to honour my mother, to fight for her legacy, and somehow, even in that moment of hesitation and scoffing laughter from nearby officers, I knew I was ready to make my mark. This is the tale of my fight against not just the world, but against the haunting silence that came with losing someone you love. The tension in the air was palpable as I stood face to face with Admiral Whitaker. The officers around us were still laughing, their incredulous chuckles echoing in my ears like a relentless drumbeat. "You think you can handle this?" one of them sneered, his arms crossed and a smirk plastered on his face. "Watch me," I shot back, my voice steadier than I felt inside. They underestimated me, simply a girl daring to challenge a decorated admiral. But they didn't see the fire that burned in my heart, the legacy of my mother pushing me forward. Naomi had taught me to fight for what was right. The demonstration was supposed to mark a day of hope, a leap into proving that her memory mattered. It started well. I activated the auxiliary system, and for a fleeting moment I felt invincible. The room had transformed. Faces turned from skepticism to awe. But it all came crashing down the second Whitaker's voice cut through the moment. "Stop!" Confusion swirled around us like smoke, and I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, anger mixing with disbelief. "Why are you stopping me?" I demanded, my voice rising above the murmurs. "There's something you need to know, Amamira," he said, his expression shifting from stern to pained. In that moment, the shield he wore shattered, revealing the guilt that had haunted him since the accident. I could see it in his eyes, the burden of secrets. "Your mother. She warned us about the design flaw." I didn't listen. He admitted, his voice barely a whisper. Those words spilled into the silence and struck me like a dagger twisting deep. Betrayal coursed through me, igniting the memories of my grandmother's despair. How could you let her down like that? I fired back, emotions surging within me. I felt every ounce of the weight of history pressing down, urging me to turn and walk away. But turning back wasn't an option. I couldn't give up now. "No, you don't understand," he replied, his eyes pleading for understanding. "I was wrong, and I can't make it right alone." Something in that moment shifted. I realized that this was no longer just about the demonstration. It was about exposing the truth of my mother's legacy. Together, we would unearth the shame buried deep within the Navy, a shared burden I never expected to carry alongside the man who had betrayed my mother's brilliance. As the reality settled in a new fire ignited, I was done being underestimated, done being the punchline to their jokes. This was my mother's legacy, my fight. I was just getting started. So picture this: Amamira's staring down the barrel of a massive aircraft carrier, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She feels like a gladiator facing a coliseum of skeptical stares, most of them belonging to grizzled officers who've probably seen more action than she'd seen snacks at a sleepover. That day, she was all set to prove that she was more than just the Admiral's bet. She was her mother's daughter, ready for a reckoning. But as it turns out, the road wasn't built for the faint-hearted. After that initial success, when the auxiliary system hummed to life, you could practically hear the collective gasps echo around the carrier. It was like a magic trick gone right until it wasn't. Admiral Whitaker, with a face like he'd just bitten into a lemon, abruptly halted the demonstration. "We need to talk," he said, and just like that, the applause turned into an awkward silence. The room shifted from excitement to dread as secrets began unfurling like an unwanted scroll. And let me tell you, digging into the truth was like mining for gold in a landfill. Every time Amamira thought she was onto something, she hit a wall. Rejections, frustrations, and endless, "Are you kidding me?" moments piled up high. She was buried under a mountain of red tape that could rival a spaghetti noodle factory. People looked at her like she was trying to build a rocket from Lego's Cute, but come on. Even her grandmother, bless her heart, seemed more concerned about the family reputation than the family truth. "Honey, some things are better left buried," she'd say. But that's when sparks began to ignite. Just when she felt like throwing the whole project overboard and joining a yoga class, there'd be a flicker of hope. Like when she stumbled across her mother's hidden letter, a treasure map guiding her through the chaos, lighting that flame of determination back up again. Because if there's one thing Amamira knew in her gut, it was that her mother's legacy wasn't done shifting the tides just yet. And neither was she. The air hung heavy. Amamira sat in the quiet of her room, the only sound her breath catching in her throat. In her hands the crumpled letter, words her mother's words layered with foresight and sorrow. "I warned him. I warned them all." Each line cut deeper than the last. A mother's love entwined with the agony of unanswered questions. The designs, the flaws, the tragedy, all wrapped up in a single moment where time stayed still and shattered. A wave of despair crashed over her. Images flashed, the sneers from the officers, the uncertainty in Whitaker's eyes. Did they ever see her? But then, amidst the chaos of her mind, a flicker. A quiet determination igniting beneath the ashes of disappointment. No more. Amamira raised her chin. She could either let this break her or forge her anew. The weight of her mother's legacy settled not like a burden, but like a mantle, a call to action. She rushed to her desk, heart pounding, a fire igniting in her chest. Each word she scribbled fueled the flame. The diagrams, the calculations, they came alive. No longer just a daughter yearning for truth, she was a force. A daughter ready to claim her mother's brilliance and dismantle the web of regret that ensnared Whitaker. Together, she whispered to herself, vision crystal clear. So much was at stake. But she'd harnessed the fire born from loss. Amamira stepped out of her room, ready to confront the past, not in anger, but in partnership. Each step echoing like a drumbeat, a battle cry of resolve. This was her moment. The spark had caught. She was unstoppable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting Norfolk skies in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Amamira stood in the boardroom once reserved for the most esteemed admirals. The table was laden with visualizations of her mother's designs, blueprints, filled with innovations that could have changed the course of naval engineering. Today it was different. Today it was her moment. With her heart racing, Amamira clutched her mother's Naval Academy ring. The whispers of doubt had been silenced. She had proven herself in front of Admiral Whitaker and the very officers who once scoffed at what they deemed to be a child's folly. Now their eyes reflected a newfound respect as she prepared to lay out her case, her voice steady yet passionate, reverberating off the cold steel walls of the room. This isn't just about my mother's legacy. It's about creating a future where her sacrifices make us safer. In the midst of her presentation, her phone buzzed with an incoming alert. She glanced down and her heart skipped. Headline: Navy's newest engineering revolution, a tribute to an unsung hero. Excitement swelled, causing a quiet smirk to play on her lips. When the final proposal was approved and she turned to shake Admiral Whitaker's hand, it was more than just an acknowledgement of success. It was a symbol of healing. Whitaker's grip was firm, but his eyes held a humility that said, "We did this together." Their connection, born from shared loss, transformed into a partnership that bridged generations of sacrifice. Yet, amidst the triumph, ghostly reminders lingered in the corners of her mind, the scars of loss that no success could ever erase. As she stood there, pride shimmering in her heart, she knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. It would require courage and resilience, not just for her, but to ensure her mother's legacy would inspire countless others, just as it had inspired her. In this victory, Amamira found strength and purpose, not merely to rise, but to elevate others with her. As we draw the curtains on Amamira Johnson's extraordinary journey, we witness the profound transformation of a young girl who confronted the shadows of the past to reclaim her mother's legacy. Along the way, amidst the weight of grief, trust, and heart-wrenching choices, Amamira learned that true power often lies not in vengeance, but in courage and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. The journey has raised difficult questions. Is seeking revenge a path to justice, or does it cloud our capacity for forgiveness? Admiral Whitaker's redemption reminds us that even those burdened with guilt can forge new beginnings. Together, they've rewritten a narrative of loss into one of hope, integrity, and the strength found in vulnerability. Their partnership challenges the age-old belief that enemies cannot become allies, that sometimes the greatest wounds have the potential to heal the deepest divides. As Amamira steps into her future, the legacy of her mother and the lessons learned echo in her heart. Will she follow the path of her mother, or carve out a destiny that transcends it? These questions linger, inviting a heated debate. Can we ever truly forgive those who have wronged us, or is that a form of weakness in our quest for justice? Reflect on your own experiences and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever found yourself teetering between revenge and forgiveness? Join the conversation. Real change begins with discussion.